Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Nucks and Pucks. I believe it's episode 4 now. My name is Sukman, and I'm joined by,
I'm Garbage.
And Grusevic.
and as usual, lots of stuff going on with the Canucks as of late, around the league, around the hockey world. So let's not waste some time and get right into it. First things first, let's talk about the Canucks and Leafs game. Definitely an exciting one. Uh, Emotional roller coaster. Started up 3-0 and then blew the lead, made it 3-3, then went up 4-3, and then gave up a shorthanded goal just to end it off with, I believe, 2 power play goals, or maybe might have just been one. But overall, exciting game. A couple of guys standing out. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, we were talking about it in last episode, how we all thought it'd be like a 5-2 game. I think that was the sort of
I
consensus.
said
But
5-3.
yeah,
5-3.
5-2, 5-3. But hey, it was a good win. You see Matthews talking about it too, how the Canucks might have been like one of the best forechecking teams they faced recently, taking away that time and space. I mean, they had the Canucks had a really strong start in the first period, but they sort of, like Tocchet said, they got comfortable in the second and third and kind of let go of the pedal, which I think, yeah, is it's a game where you gotta keep your pressure on, because as much as Toronto, we hate them, but they are a skilled team and they can quickly turn things around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
agree. When it was 3-0, I was kind of getting excited because I remember I said I wanted like an 8-0, 10-0
Yeah.
blowout. So I was like, yeah, it looks like we're on trend for that.
I was
But
hoping for a Hoglander hat trick there.
yeah, right. But yeah, I think what you said is fair. Like at the end of the day, as much as we might not like the Toronto market or the Toronto team, like they got Matthews, right? Guy's a 70 goal scorer, and then you got a guy like Nylander, um, Marner, even Tavares, right? So they're a skilled team. It's a good lesson for the team, right? I feel like we've done it a few times this year where, we have a lead and we kind of let go when we let teams back into it. Um, Thankfully, usually most of the time we end up winning still. But
It's been weird this year. Usually, when we look at it like last year, the years before, we'd have a terrible start, and later on in the game, we'd pick it up. This year, we sort of have amazing starts, come out of the gate just flying, and then sort of let go as the game goes on, which,
I
oh,
feel
it's
like that comes with experience, though. I mean, relatively young guys, like the young team we are, relatively. And we're not used to like being up all the time, I guess, like compared to years past. And I feel like it'll come with time. Because being up with the lead, you always resort to just defend it, defend it, defend it. But it's the same in every sport. Like honestly, it's whenever a team goes up big, they always end up taking their foot off the gas. It's like, okay, as long as we don't blow it, we'll be fine. Even if they cut it close, okay, whatever. But if we don't blow it, we'll be fine. I've never liked that philosophy, especially like in soccer, teams do it all the time and it always bites them in the ass. And it happens in hockey too. Like I feel like even if you're up 3-0, you should treat the game like it's 0-0. And I feel like they just haven't got they haven't grasped that what's the word? Mentality, I guess. I don't know.
like, how can you say that when our record after like having the lead after two periods is we've
Yeah,
literally
but that's not
only.
my point. I mean that my point is that
But I mean, how can you say that they're playing having a bad mentality when they've literally only dropped 1 point?
I'm not saying it's a
One
bad
point.
mentality. I'm saying it's just that it's what teams do when
It's
they get the
working,
lead.
is it not?
Yeah, but it's cutting it close is what
It's
I'm saying.
consistently working. When you're like, what's the record? Like 29-0-1
yep.
after something along those lines?
Yeah, I
You
guess
can't
like
really
a lot of that
criticize
has to
that.
do with luck though.
You take 59 out of 60 points. That's quite consistent.
I don't know, man.
Why do you guys think that they let go? Like, is it just like like a mindset thing? Like, oh, we're winning.
I don't think it's a mindset thing. I think it's more of like they don't want to make those mistakes because it's it's like making those creative plays. Would you rather make a creative play on the blue line or would you rather just dump it down? I think you go with the dump each. I think they should do the dump unless your name's Quinn Hughes or Philip Hronik to some extent.
Mhm. Yeah.
Unless you're those guys, you have to dump it down. Like the other game, I think it was the Blues game. Kuzmenko had the puck at the blue line and he starts doing like spin moves and like passes it right to a Blues player instead of he had the simple play, just dump it down and keep the cycle going. And I
Hmm.
mean, with the lead, you have to make, even in general, I think those are the smarter plays unless you're an elite skilled player where you know like you can walk the blue line.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think yeah, as long as it works, to be honest, like they've found ways to win every time. What you're saying, 29-0-1. So we've been in that situation 30 times this year.
Something along those lines, the
Yeah.
stat.
Yeah, out of like 40 some games, right? So yeah, consistency's there. I don't think it's a too big of an issue, right? Like if a team can turn that switch on and off when they want, it's not a problem. But yeah,
But come playoff time, it becomes a problem. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. At playoff time, you can't. If you blow a lead, it's harder to switch back on.
Well,
That's
how
all
many
I'm saying.
times have the Canucks blown a lead in the third period?
And it's they just blew a 3 goal lead to the Leafs. That's the type of
They
competition that's gonna consistently come in the playoffs, not against Chicago and
did they win?
Columbus.
Did they win?
That's not my point.
Did they
Yeah,
win?
they turned it back on, but I'm
Okay.
saying in the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs, it's
Yeah.
different.
Why? Why is it different?
Because
No,
teams are
I
going to
get
be
your
more
point,
locked
right?
in.
No,
They'll
I
say,
get
oh
your
no, we blew a 3-0 lead. We have no momentum. And now it's going to be harder to get that momentum back. It's a playoff,
I
buddy.
get your point, but at the same time, let's say you're up 3-0 in the playoffs, right? In a game like first period or something. Would you rather not have your team go into a more of a lockdown phase where
Absolutely not. Not in the first period
in
or
the second
second
period?
period.
Why not?
Play like it's 0-0. That's just all
If
I'm
you play
saying.
like at 0-0, you're going to make more mistakes because you're going to be wanting to play more creatively. And I'd say for the most part, like,
Not really.
yeah, you would. When you're making breakouts, instead of making a pass up the middle of the ice, you make it along the boards. The boards is safer than throwing it up the middle.
Yeah, but like if it's 0-0, you're still doing that. You don't want to concede either, but you
But
also want to score. It's called being it's conservative, but also knowing when to attack. I don't know. It's just I don't like the whole philosophy around, oh, it's 2-0, 3-0, let's defend. I hate that.
I don't
I
think
just
it's
don't like it.
defend. I think it's you make the safer play 99% of the time. When it's tied 0-0, players like let's say the fourth line, Hoglander, Lafferty, they'll make a couple like riskier plays where, because they're trying to get a goal. There's no goal for the team. Everybody's trying to score. So you make a little riskier of a play. Whereas if you're up 3-0, you feel a little comfortable. You're like, you know what? I don't have to take the risk. I can just do the easy move, dump the puck down and chase it or whatnot.
Yeah, and then they come back down, and then you do it over and over and over and over again. That's all I'm saying.
And then you keep winning 29 out of 30 times.
It's an anomaly. I'm telling you.
29 out of 30 times ain't no fluke.
But yeah, outside blowing the lead, I remember mentioning standouts. Two guys that day, Hoglander and Garland. Both of them, for the longest time, I guess you could say, play a very similar style, right? Scrappy, they get into those battles. Smaller guys, but play a much bigger game than you'd expect. Um, some yeah, they had some scrappy goals around the net, some lucky bounce, I guess you could say. But I remember, I believe it was Hoglander that had that one snipe. I
Yeah.
believe it was second goal of the game. Like, yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, I think Hoglander looked amazing against the Leafs. Definite standout.
I think with this game, obviously, like I think most of the hockey world's eyes were on the game because Vancouver versus Toronto, it's a huge game.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of showed the Leafs in a way what they're really missing in their team. You look at their bottom six, they don't really have any of that. Those
Hmm.
energy guys where they just come like if you watch the forecheck in the first period, it was insane. They have the
Hmm.
guys dumping the pucks down. You have either the Joshua line, Bluger, Garland, Lafferty, Hoglander, all those guys are just right on the puck right away, having no time or space. And that's how the goals all like I'd say if you watch like most of our goals come off of like turnovers, which are caused by the forecheck. And I think it's a really good thing that you have those secondary pieces that can do stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's important. Like, everyone has like a role, and like you can't always expect like the star guys to do that type of stuff, right? So like that type of thing, right? Like winning battles, puck battles, turning the puck over. It's usually traditionally, I guess, right, more of like a bottom line role. And it's funny that you mentioned that Toronto doesn't really have that, considering they literally handed Lafferty over
Yeah.
to us. Yeah. So, and he's another big piece, right, that kind of contributes in the same way.
I mean, that
Um,
Ryan Reeves contract really messed stuff up for them.
oh
They had to
yeah.
move out so many. Was it today the other guy like McMahon or something like that? They had to throw
Hmm.
him on
Hmm.
waivers. Like it's really messing with them. And all for a guy that's not really even playing for them.
Exactly. Like I don't know, like that guy's stats have been
It's funny. He's
bad.
like, I'm healthy and I'm sitting on the bench. I hate it. I'm like, bro, you suck. That's why. Like, why do you think you're not playing? You're not good anymore. Like, it makes no sense to me. I just found it funny.
He has 1 point in 21 games.
Yeah, minus
One
11 on the season.
that to put into context, Sam Lafferty had a 3 point game this year. So,
Yeah, it's like in
right,
one game,
one
right?
game he has 3 times the production, right? So, I don't know. Typical Toronto, always making these impulsive moves and trying to bring in big name guys. But yeah, I don't know. It was a
Now,
fun game to watch.
speaking of forechecking, though, um, I just like how they always have a plan when they're doing their forechecking, right? It's just not just dump the puck into the corner and just do whatever. Everybody's in a certain spot, and that's why it works, right? There's always, I feel like what I notice is if it goes to the left or the right corner, there's two guys there, and then one guy around the slot or like the top of the
Here,
face-off area.
let me drop my minor hockey knowledge.
All right,
They
let's see.
got F1 going right on the guy. F2's behind the net usually, around behind the net, in between the guy and the net, supporting whether so the guy can't bring it around. And then they
Mm-hmm,
got F3 in the slot who's just waiting around if they get the puck to him. And
Hmm.
then
mm-hmm.
if they move to the other side, then F3 kind of goes there and then F1 becomes F3.
Yeah, it's called structured hockey, baby. It's not Travis Green hockey where you
Yeah.
And
just dump and pray.
Taka was saying about like why the third line and the fourth line are working a little bit better than our second line, which is Mikheyev and Kuzmenko. It's like he said that they play too far apart,
Yeah.
not too close. They're not close together. And I'm like, well, that's a really good point. I never really thought about it that way, but
Hmm.
he is right. When they're playing in and around each other, it's a lot easier.
So
Yeah.
yeah, when you see it like Mikheya's coming up with the puck and then he really has nobody around to
Yeah, there's
sort
no
of pass it
pass.
off to or
Yeah, there's
stuff
no
like that. And
pass.
then it just keeps leading to like just us dumping and then the other team just taking it from there. Because there's no
Hmm.
real I
Yeah,
guess that's what
they do the forechecking without a plan. It's
yeah.
what like basically, or just like they just whenever they have the puck, they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Every other line or third and fourth line specifically have a plan
They're
when they have the puck.
tenacious. That's how I describe them. They're tenacious. They just go
Hmm.
right at it.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one thing I'd say with I don't know, I just feel like this with Kuzmenko, like we'll come back to more of that later, but just talking about how they're not like playing close to each other. I don't know if coaching staff's probably tried this or not, but I think the biggest thing they could do is just have him watch hockey. Not the Canucks, because I feel like when he's watching himself, he's feeling way more pressure. Like, you know, like I don't know what's happening. Just have him like tell him like, yo, these are a couple of good games going on today, like Vegas or the Rangers or any like, good team. Like, yo, these are some good teams playing today. Just watch them. Just like
Hmm.
watch as a fan, like you pick up those things and he'll see like when you look from a far way distance, you see that these are the mistakes that players are making and this is what they should have been doing. And it kind of might help him get used to that because it is a transition coming from the KHL to
you
here
become
where
a student of the game.
yeah,
That's pretty
Hmm.
much.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that they should try with them because obviously you can't teach skill, but you can teach small things like that.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, Talking about Kuzmenko, Canucks and Hawks game, he definitely had a little bit of a better performance. Um, 2-0 game. My opinion, pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie. We don't promote gambling, right? But I lost $20 that day, and I was quite upset. I had, I think 6.5.
Doesn't promote gambling, but still gambles.
Hey, let me share my pain,
I'm
okay?
sorry, that was funny.
I was expecting a complete beatdown, right? Like I had Pettersson with 3+ points and like over 6.5 goals, and the game's like 2-0 with nobody except for the second line pitching, and I was upset. But with that said, Kuzmenko had a really nice pass on
Yeah.
that first goal, just coming around the net, spinorama or half spin type thing. Feel like he did a little bit better on the forecheck that day too. Um, but again, it is the Hawks, right? So
I
I don't
mean,
know.
hey, the Hawks. I don't know if you guys watched the Edmonton game yesterday.
Hmm.
Edmonton and Chicago. The Hawks didn't look too bad.
Hmm.
They were was is the first goal they scored. Mrazek was just completely out of his
I
net.
don't know
Like I
what
don't
he
know
was
what
doing.
he was doing there.
The
Nobody knows
McDavid
what he
one?
was doing.
Yeah, the McDavid one. He's just completely like that was just a terrible goal. And
Hmm.
then, but the rest of the game, the shots were quite even. And Chicago had their chances. They had a breakaway. They had a penalty shot. They can't score. They work really hard, which I guess is a good thing on their coach. I think Luke Richardson. Like they're a hardworking team. They just have no skill to score.
I
It's
mean,
just a bunch of third and fourth
Kuzmenko,
liners running around out there.
conversely, it is the Edmonton Oilers, right? I mean, we'll come back to that after,
yeah.
but that's going to be a hot topic. But yeah, no,
No, but
but
coming back to this game, like, yeah, I think after the first 5 minutes, the Canucks sort of just like put it to rest. Like
yeah,
they tried really hard for 5 minutes, scored 2 goals, and then they're like, "Hey, we'll just cruise the rest of
Yeah,
the way."
that's exactly what Tocchet said. He's like, they just kind of
exactly.
cruise the rest of the time. I'm like, hey, whatever, that works.
Oh,
Like,
so now it works.
yeah, it works when it's the Hawks.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, from a fan standpoint, it's but hey, wins are wins. But another thing that day, that Quinn snipe,
Oh my.
holy dude, how did he even see that?
I've been thinking about this, like, or even like hearing about it from like other people. It's like the stuff Quinn's doing nowadays, like you don't even like second guess it anymore. It's just
No.
so common now. And when he eventually, like, say in like, I don't know, 12, 15 years retires, it's gonna be like, holy, like this guy was a Vancouver Canuck.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
and
go
I
ahead.
think like he's gonna be one of the like I think him, PD, JT, they all end up in the top 10 of all-time Canucks easily, I think. As
Easy.
long as PD stays. But I think Quinn definitely like
Quinn's already
Quinn's
there.
insane. If he gets
I
100
think
points this year as a defense,
I think
call
he's
it. He's
already
he's
there.
already the best defenseman we've ever had.
His numbers going in the rafters. Like there's no like doubt about it. But yeah, what you said, it's like night in, night out, we get to experience and watch literally a generational defenseman. And like guys like this don't come along all the time,
His
right?
shot was considered a very big weakness. And now
Hmm.
look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. I mean, they call him what? Huggy Bear, right? So
Yeah.
don't poke the bear, I guess. But
That was terrible.
hey
Yeah,
man.
That
that
was
was bad.
brutal.
I was shaking my head,
That
man.
was
Like, no,
brutal.
no,
Hey, I saw it, I took the opportunity. But
you shouldn't have.
yeah, hey, listen, I did it. It's too late now. I can't say anything about it. But yeah, man, like he's insane. And like there's that other stat too I saw a couple days ago. It was like I believe the top 10 or top 8 defensemen in the league, right? And how much time they've had the puck on their stick in the ozone. And everybody from 10 to 2 or 8 to 2, wherever it was, in between 30 to 40 minutes, none of them had it at 40 minutes, right? Everyone was
Yeah.
below 40. Whereas in Quinn Hughes was at like 57 minutes,
I think he was
right?
at 60, no? Something around.
Might be after these few
Yeah.
games, but at that time it was 57. And I remember seeing a lot of the Avalanche fans, especially, like, oh, maybe he needs to pass the puck up more. But I'm like, well, he's also leading in assists, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't really make sense. But it's I think that one stat's like a good showcase of how dominant he's been this year. And something that we kind of talked about at the start of the season was that although, PD is sometimes recognized as like the guy in Vancouver and like, all that stuff, Quinn is the one that when he goes on the ice, he's present. Like he's the one that like dominates the game. And yeah, like as you said, like he's a crazy talent. It's crazy to think that he's a Vancouver Canuck.
He's like if you compare sports, he's like a point guard basically. He's like a Kyrie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
He's like
can see how he can be
he's
like
like
Kyrie. He's super
he's
shifty.
he's so
Yeah, I get
shifty.
that.
I see him as like a Kyrie type. Like it's just insane. I think you'll never like really understand how great he was until eventually he retires or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's a treat watching him every day. And
So fun to use
thank
in Chell.
oh yeah. Thank God for what's
Kel
it,
sucks.
Arizona and Detroit for messing up that draft and dropping him right to us. Wonder if Philip Zadina and was it
So we're gonna sit
Jared
here and
Hayden are
act,
doing?
we're gonna sit here and act like we both didn't want Zadina so badly.
I
Yeah.
think we all did at the time, right?
Okay. To be fair, I did not like the Pettersson pick or the Hughes pick,
Who
and
was it
I'll
we
admit it,
who
we
was
didn't
it
know
that we
them.
wanted? Who was it that
Dave
we was it
Velarde,
Velarde, right?
Velarde.
Yeah,
hmm
we were pissed off. I
We
remember
were
that.
dumb, and I'll admit it. We
Yeah,
were
we
dumb.
were dumb little kids.
It was, you see those Canadian players, and you're
Oh,
like, yeah, go Canada.
Yeah.
And
Jake
Quinn,
Vertan.
yeah, that didn't end well. What
Oh,
could
but
have been?
that's like
Imagine.
the whole pick was made because he was Canadian. He was a BC kid. It was so funny. All right, move on. Let's go on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's not maybe not
let's
go
not embarrass
Canada.
ourselves.
Yeah, but moving past the Hawks game, like we said, it was kind of just like a try for the first 5 minutes, cruise past. A little bit more of an entertaining one, although we ended up on the losing side of things. The Blues game, 4-3 overtime loss. Couple of things. One was Pia Suter and that third period hat trick, which was fun to watch. The missed cross check on Pettersson. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it. I was kind of like half and half. Like, do I think it's a cross check? Yes. Do I think PD sold it a little bit? Yes. But at the end of the day, a cross check, you got to call it. I know Zadorov got benched, and there were some post game comments that Tocchet also made that kind of got around. So overall, like, what do you guys think?
I think, yeah, that game was weird.
Hmm.
We were dominating a lot, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, we had, like double the shots, everything. Like, it felt like a lot of the game was played in the Blues end, but for some reason, Joel Hofer was just he turned into Demko that
Yeah.
night
Yeah.
and wouldn't let anything past him. But hey, glad to get a point out of it. The
Hmm.
cross check, I 100% believe that was a penalty. I do think PD messed up on the offensive end though, right before that
Hmm.
play where he kind of like lost the puck.
Yeah.
Like
He
I agree
lost the
with
puck on the blue line.
yeah, I agree with Tocchet. Like he needs to skate a little. Like he needs to start skating. Like can't be stationary. But that penalty, I think it needs to be called. I think it just makes no sense. Like he clearly dumps him right in front of the net, and then I don't know.
All
Refs
right,
aren't on it.
my take on it is it's a penalty, but it's it's different. It's like if it's a borderline call like that, I feel like it's kind of he kind of sold it, but it's still a penalty. I feel like if it was the beginning of the game, as they were called like throughout the game, a bunch like we had what, three cross-checking penalties, right?
Hmm.
So like if it was in the first or second period, even early third, I feel like it would have been called. But in that moment, in overtime, I don't think that the ref wanted it to like impact the game that much, I
But
guess.
it
Because
it it
it was such a borderline call because
it wasn't
he
really a
did
borderline.
he sold it a little bit.
At the like when he fell, like after he was already on the ground, he sold it. But I don't think that's a borderline call. You can't just go up to the front of the net. You don't even have the puck around. The puck's not even anywhere close, and you just clearly cross-check the guy to the ground. That's a penalty.
In all fairness, Braden Shen after the game all but admitted that it was a penalty. So
Yeah,
like
but then
he's like, oh well, he didn't call it or something like that. I forgot what the exact quote was, but he basically said it was probably a penalty, but it didn't get called.
I didn't hear that, but I heard their coach Drew Bannister. He was like, first of all, that guy looks scary. I don't know. He just looks weird. Like looks like an alien to me. But
He just said we were falling
he's like,
too
yeah,
easily.
the Canucks were falling around a lot because he started talking. I don't know if he was referring to PD or who he was referring to. He's like, yeah, you got a 6'3", 220 defenseman. I was like, damn,
Ian Cole.
Ian Cole's not 6'3".
No, he was talking about Ian Cole though.
The
When
goal, yeah, the goal,
I think
yeah, the goal,
he
the disallowed goal.
yeah, the disallowed goal. He was talking about Ian Cole.
But that's the thing. You can't just like if you kind of skate with the stick, it's all right. And refs won't call it. But when you just clearly cross-check and you're just standing there, they're gonna call it. And that should have been called in overtime. You can't let something like that happen, especially when it's 3-on-3. You
Okay, but
cross-check a guy,
we can't ignore the fact that he could have easily gotten up and like at least got a stick on the shot.
but,
He
but you
took his
can't.
sweet old time getting up, and that's what led to all these post-game comments. All right, like it
That
was,
that's not the thing that led to it. It was more so the
and the
offensive end.
turnover.
The turnover is what led to it because he kind of just stood around there. That's where Tocchet was sort of getting at. And our end, at that point, when it's 3-on-3, there's so much space, and you cross-check a guy, he falls down. That opens up way more space for you, and that's something that needs to be
Yeah,
called.
but
I
he
don't know.
had a lot of time to get back up and get right back on Braden Shen, but he
It
didn't
was
do
it was
it.
like a split second thing. It was like a second and a half. There's not much time there.
No, he was up. I
Yeah.
think I
He did
agree
get
with
up, but
you.
like it's a thing. Like when you get cross-checked like that, you're obviously expecting a penalty. You're
Yeah,
And
no,
anticipating it.
he did when he was on the ground, he kind of did look at the ref though,
Even
or after.
Quinn slammed his stick right after the goal, like, because it was like, yo, that's a clear penalty.
yeah, no, my take is like 100% penalty, 100% should have been called. It's just like it's I guess it's natural instinct, like when a penalty should be called as a player to react a certain way, right? Because you're like, okay, the arm's probably up, or like he's gonna blow a whistle. But ideally, what have I liked is that he just played full effort, right? Feel like what Gur said, they could have gotten up, could have got a stick on it, right? Played till the whistle's blown, but yeah, it is what it is. But I don't think that particular aspect of the play you can blame as much on PD than you can on the ref, right? Whereas in the turnover, you can put it more on PD because that was his fault. Like he turned it over twice in the at the blue line, so
And he
that's more
admitted it,
so
so whatever.
exactly. So that's more so his fault. But the secondary part, that's on the ref. Outside of the PD incident, Pius Suter. So that's his second career hat trick.
Same day.
Um, Same day, yeah, which that's nuts.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
He got there were nice goals. Like I think
Yeah.
he's one of them was on the power play,
Yeah.
and I kind of like him in that spot in that little bumper area. Like
Yeah.
the two of the goals were like more like I
Kind of
guess
greasy goals.
greasy goals. Yeah, just like hunting for the puck in the scrum and then getting it on net. The first and third one were more like that, and then the second one was a pretty nice shot up
Man,
top.
to think about it, we got him for what, 1.6 million for over 2 years.
Yeah,
So 3.2 in total for
And
two
the
years.
only reason we got him was
And
because nobody wanted to give
yeah,
him more
nobody,
than
yeah,
one
we
year.
got him in like what, mid-August or something like that, early
yeah,
Yeah.
mid-August. Like,
yeah.
you got to give props to this pro scouting of the team where guys like him, Bluger, all those guys are, coming in and they step in and it's like, damn, they got some game. Like with next year, there's a lot of uncertainty with, especially the way Bluger's played, Joshua, Lafferty. Like, are those guys going to stay or are they going to be gone? But at least you have Suter there, where it's like, if one of those guys leave, you can probably get him to the third line and have that line still producing because
Hmm.
Hmm.
he's shown a little bit that he can produce.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, we've talked about this in previous episodes. Like
As good as they've been, they are like eventually gonna have to be like replaced. They're those replaceable guys eventually. You know what I mean? Because like you're not gonna want to pay them the money that they deserve,
yeah,
but like
that's what
you,
makes good bottom
you
lines, right?
yeah.
Like guys that like outperform their contracts play better than they are. I mean, you can argue that with like a whole team, I guess,
Yeah.
like guys that outperform their contracts, but those bottom lines especially, right? They do the dirty work.
Like with Bluger, he has 13 points in his last 15 games. That's quite
Mhm.
good production from him.
Yeah, almost point per game as a
For like
bottom line
what,
guy.
million dollars a year, I think, something around that
Something
range.
like that.
Yeah.
Not much. But at the same time, I was listening to this interview of Casey DeSmith,
Mhm.
and it was at the Canucks Ice and Dice gala.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And they're just asking him about like what does he think like about the team, everything. Like you
Mhm.
get the sense that everybody's really humble. Like he was like, I'm just trying to I have a really small role in here, but I'm trying to contribute as much as I can. Even though I'd say he's been one of the better backups in the league. Like
Oh yeah.
that's not a
100%.
small role. He's doing his role quite well. And he was
Mhm.
just saying like, this coaching staff, like just talking about how good they are and how there's a plan there and how everybody feels comfortable and every guy that comes into the dressing room, like they want to play for each other and just that whole, like we were talking about last episode, that whole team atmosphere there. And I've there's been talks about it where, maybe guys don't take discounts, but more guys want to come here because of the coaching staff and the sort of
Mhm.
culture that's been created now.
Yeah.
There could be a couple guys that might want to take discounts just to be around there. You never know, but you like that sense of where players, even like Casey DeSmith, he's only been
Yeah, it's
around
really
since
important. Yeah,
since
definitely.
October, and he comes in and he's talking so well about the team and the whole culture, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely helps in free agency.
Yeah.
Huge.
especially in Van, right? Like,
When when a free agent think like maybe a third, fourth liner comes in and sees that, you know, the Canucks coaching staff, they've helped these like third, fourth liners have career years all of a sudden. It
Hmm.
sort of gives that incentive to be like, you know what, maybe I could do something there.
yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
And as a fan, it's exciting, man. It's
Yeah.
so exciting. Like, one of the biggest things I admired about that 2011 team was like their willingness to play for one another,
Yeah.
that championship culture,
That
and
sort of
just,
camaraderie.
yeah, exactly. And like, this city and this team hasn't seen that in so long. So it's like, it really brings back a huge wave of hope.
Yeah.
So let's see
That
where
that's
that.
sort of where I guess the emotional part of being a fan kicks in, where it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, like from a business standpoint, Kuzmenko trade him. But on
Hmm.
the other hand, you see how well he is with all the teammates. He's such a well-liked teammate. Everybody, like, you hear Quinn talking about it too, like, like we feel so happy that he's like producing. Like we want him to succeed. We want him here. And you kind of feel
Hmm.
that like, you don't want to mess with the fabric of the team either, but then at the same time, you gotta make some tough decisions and it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
you gotta find that balance. Um, yeah. Moving on a little bit into a different direction, talking about bottom line guys. Um, one guy that I feel like needs a little bit more recognition. I know we talked about Suter on the power play and how he's kind of doing good on that bumper spot. Another guy that I think, and I think we all think, deserves to be on the power play is Niels Hoglander. His scoring production on at 5-on-5 has been tremendous. Um, and I feel like if you put him in a situation where you're a man or two up, it just gives him more room to strive, right? Like, why can't he be a 30 goal scorer if he's on the power play?
Yeah, there's sort of two guys that I think of like that should get a power play opportunity
Hmm.
with like if the Canucks are sort of trying out other guys, like Pia Suter he's done quite well recently. But
Hmm.
Hoglander and Dakota Joshua, I feel like those guys in more of like a net front sort of scrappy role, like get those rebounds after a shot. I think those guys could be really useful there. And even just talking about like Hoglander and how well he's produced at even strength, he has 14 even strength goals. All of his goals are even strength.
Hmm.
He's tied with Brady Kachuk, Brendan Hagel, Clayton Keller, Matthew Kachuk, Connor
Yeah.
McDavid. Like the list goes on and on with the players that he's sort of producing the same as on even strength. And I don't know. That's one thing where I feel like Tocchet kind of needs to let him be on the power play. Maybe try him out with the first unit because if Hoglander can take that step and become that top six winger that you're looking for on the outside,
I think
that's
he's
amazing.
already shown that.
Yeah, he's shown that, but it's just about like, getting that chemistry with like a line, like figuring out who he works better with, whether it's Miller or Pedersen at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I feel like he should be getting a shot on the power play.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. 100%. Like a guy with that much skill, and he has like a pretty good shot when he has this time to get it off. Even if it's on the second unit, like he definitely deserves at least one look
Hmm.
on either of the units. Obviously, I would prefer it would be on the first unit
Hmm.
because that'll be more of a like a proper look. But I mean, if you don't want to mess with it right now, I understand. But he definitely has shown that he deserves it.
Oh, I would definitely mess with the power play. It's not like we've been having a good power play recently. Our power
Yeah.
play's
Been
kind of
pretty
been
bad.
pretty mid, so
It came out
when
red hot
when
and
it
then
when
went
it's
cold.
not doing that well, I think what's really stopping you from trying that?
Hmm.
Who do
Kuzmenko, it's
you move
clearly
out
not
of the
working
who do you move out of the first power play unit?
because last year Kuzmenko's sort of way of scoring power play goals was he was the net front guy. He was
Hmm.
getting those rebounds, those tips. That's kind of turned into Brock Besser, where Besser's taking that role now. And Kuzmenko's pushed down like he's playing like underneath the goal line and sort of tells you that he's not scoring from there. So why not try a guy like Hoglander there? Because Kuzmenko's the one that always comes out of power play one.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Pia Suter ends up on power play one or whoever.
Even
So
Hronek at one point.
yeah, so I don't know why you wouldn't try him or even Dakota Joshua. I feel like that guy is the guy you could try there too. Having him in front of the net,
Hmm.
good screen there.
He gives me Tom Wilson vibes in front of the net on a power play.
Alex Burrows.
Alex Burrows, yeah. Made his career doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, talking about 2011, like 2011 vibe. You guys see the power rankings this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's
Canucks, Bruins. Forget the
definitely
Oilers.
a blast from the past.
Right.
Yeah, forget the Oilers. Canucks and Bruins at the top. Wow, what would a rematch look like? How would you feel about that? Like, would you be able to take it? Like,
No,
emotionally,
no,
psychologically?
no,
Like,
But for
not
fans, it'd
not a
be different.
chance.
I feel like we don't have a single 2011 player left.
Yeah,
And
but it's the
even,
yeah,
same.
we
Like
don't. Yeah.
but those guys do.
they
They
have
have
Marchand
Marchand.
I
still.
mean, technically, if you bring back Tanev, like,
Who else do they
technically,
have from that team still? Just
I don't know
Marchand.
what's happening with Lucic. I think he's like dealing with his sort of like court case and stuff. Not
Mm-hmm.
sure
yeah,
if he really plays with them, but that's the only guy I can think of.
yeah. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'd want that.
But like
Like,
from a fan perspective, like not even just the players out there. It's Canucks and Bruins.
Yeah.
It still has that
mm,
emotional attachment
it's one of
to
the
it.
best
And
finals
I
ever.
I cannot take it again. No chance. No chance.
Thing is, right, it's two different worlds, right? Either your inner child gets healed, right? Or your trauma gets further
Worse.
extended, right?
It
Like,
gets worse.
and I don't know if I wanna have to put up with
Take that
that.
risk.
Yeah, no.
No chance.
Especially this time with Marchand as their captain. Imagine
Oh my
that. Yeah,
God.
that's
I couldn't.
That
I would I
rat,
don't
man. I don't know how he's still doing it, but
yeah.
I don't know. It makes no sense to
He's
me.
like another Matthews type guy, I guess. Like I don't like him,
Bro,
but
he had what,
he's
like two
good.
goals yesterday or three or something like two, I think, but two
Yeah.
for sure. I don't know if he had a third, but I don't know how he's consistently does it year after year. Crazy.
Mhm.
even with like just this season, it's been quite an odd season. A lot of stuff just
Mhm.
happening. Like Canadian teams are good again. We
Yeah.
have the Canucks, we have the
Batman is
Oilers, we have the
trembling.
Jets.
Pause.
I think the Oilers are frauds, but we'll get to that.
Good. I was just about to
Jets, yeah.
say.
I'm not. Hey, you were the one saying that the Oilers are gonna make the playoffs, and they're gonna go on a whole run and this
Yeah,
that.
no, I never said on a run. I said
Hmm.
they're gonna finish second in the division because it doesn't
That's
change.
basically a run
It
then.
doesn't
Yeah,
change
Because
the
like how
fact
else
that
that
is a
how
run.
else are they gonna get there?
okay, here, let me clarify what I'm saying. I don't know why Gers is talking when he's basically a closeted Oilers fan.
Oh, shut
Uh,
up, man.
but what I said was they're gonna finish second in the Pacific, and the rationale I kind of had behind was that Vegas is hurt, and when you're playing below 500 teams on a daily basis, you're already gonna win a bunch, and I guess the 15 game win streak's kind of proof of that. But in no way did I say that are they gonna win. Or they're gonna win and go off on like a cup run or anything. They got the Vancouver Canucks, Colorado Avalanche, Winnipeg Jets all standing in front of them. I don't think they beat any of those three in any way or form. I think we beat them in five. And I know some Oilers fans are gonna be butthurt about that, but it's just how it is.
It's we'll see what happens, but I mean, hey, it's good to see Canadian hockey succeeding again. The
I
only
mean,
thing that I have left to ask for is that Toronto falls out of a playoff spot. That'd be amazing.
yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be a dream season right there. But it's a weird season with the West. I'd say about 7 of the 8 teams are kind of decided already. Like
Hmm.
Hmm.
what 7 teams are going to be there. But on the East, it's the wild card race is insane because there's a lot of teams there that are within striking distance and just a little winning streak and they could be in the playoffs or they could fall out with like just losing a couple of games.
Yeah. I know we
Yep.
we talked about this on the last episode. Um, when Patrick Waugh got hired for the Islanders, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah. I was like, yeah, like maybe that can kind of be like that shift or that change that they needed. Doesn't seem to be going too well for them.
Yeah, they've had it tough. I think they've won 1 game
They
out of
won their
3.
first.
Yeah, 1 out of 3.
I know they
Hmm.
lost to Vegas and I know they lost to
Montreal.
Canadians, which
Hmm.
that one's tough,
That
right?
one was crazy. I don't know how they lost that game.
Who do you guys think is gonna make it from
Out of the
that?
East,
Yeah, like that little race that's going on. Like who ends up pulling through and why? Let's hear it. I kind of want to see where your guys' take is on this because it's
Bo
interesting.
Boston definitely.
Hmm.
Florida, dude, Florida's a scary team.
Yeah.
They always
Florida's a,
are. They
but this
always
year
are.
they added like a level of scrappiness to their team, I'd say.
They're a real playoff team. Like
Yeah.
once they
They,
get
they,
in there, it's
they
gonna
got
be
a lot of
crazy.
pests on that team. Like Matthew Tkachuk and Nick Cousins, like not a lot of guys that you kind of want to go against in the playoffs when things get a little
I
heated.
I think the Atlantic is set and pretty much
Yeah.
set. Like
Tampa too.
one, two,
Yeah.
Yeah.
three. I think that's how it's gonna finish.
Atlantic set. It's more so the Metropolitan because
Rangers, Rangers, yeah, they'll make it. Carolina, I think they'll make it. Philly, I think just the way they've been this season, I think they just end up in there.
I don't know,
So,
man. With the goalie situation, no, I don't
you
know.
know what's crazy though?
yeah,
Like it looks like the Rangers have had like a tremendous season, and
yeah.
don't get me wrong, they have, right? But and the Leafs, on the other hand, look like they've been doing absolutely terrible. But they're literally only 5 points apart, and the
But
Leafs have 2 games in hand.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. Like if you look at even the top end of the standings, like because we've been like all Canucks fans have been like just looking at standings every day. You
Hmm.
see so much change happening all of a sudden. Like we go from
Yeah.
first, we went to like fifth, and then we come back to first, and then third, and it's literally 1 or 2 points is deciding most of the league right now.
Do you guys think Jersey sneaks their way back in when Jack's back?
yeah, man. I
Maybe.
think I think Detroit's gonna fall out.
Yeah,
Detroit's
I don't
second wild
believe in
card, right?
Detroit. I don't believe in Detroit.
Me personally, I think it's gonna be Philly and Detroit that start falling out, and then there's gonna be two teams that replace them there. I don't know.
I see Philly staying
Probably
in.
Jersey and the Islanders, maybe.
I
Maybe,
believe in
maybe,
Philly's
maybe even the
structure.
Capitals.
I believe in Philly's structure again, like with Tortorella. I think
Yeah,
he's got them to play a certain way, which is gonna
It
succeed
just
for now.
depends. It
And
depends on how their goaltending gonna be the
th-
rest of the way, because
but
it's kind of a murky situation.
they're a team where I feel like if you play them in the first round, they're not an easy out. They're
they're
gonna be a
not.
team that's gonna be, tough on you and make life hell. But
Knock the Bruins out, please.
as much as it is, I think Toronto maybe sneaks in, just considering the rest of the competition, and maybe New Jersey comes in, but they don't have Dougie Hamilton until playoff time, and then their goalie situation is terrible too recently.
Hasn't Dougie been out most of the whole season? No.
He's played like 20, 30 games.
Yeah, there you
He's
go.
played around like 24, 30 games, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and they were on a tear when Jack was in the lineup. Like
Yeah.
Jack was at what at the start of the season. Obviously,
Oh
it's
yeah, he was leading the league.
yeah, and he was like he
Yeah,
looked
he
like he
was
was on pace
insane.
for 160 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see how that goes. But yeah, it should be
But
interesting, man.
they've had, I guess, similar issues like the Canucks where they have Alexander Holtz,
Hmm.
who's producing a lot for
Yeah.
Hmm.
them, and but the coach just doesn't trust him. Like obviously,
Hmm.
it's not the same as the Hoglander situation, but it's
Hmm.
similar-ish where he doesn't really play much, but he's like he has 12
I also,
goals,
yeah,
12
yeah,
goals,
okay.
11 assists, and 23 points in 46 games, and he's playing like 10 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't understand that thinking. That's one thing I
I
hate about
guess it's
hockey
just not
coaches.
wanting, it's not wanting to give your young guys too much, like get them overwhelmed. I don't know. That's just
No,
like
but
it could be a reason. I
when
don't agree with
when
it.
when you need wins and you need goals, you got to put the guys that are going to score up
No,
for
I
you.
know that,
Yeah,
but it's just that's like the way they might be thinking. I'm not saying it's like the
yeah.
right way to be thinking. It's just some coaches think that way. They don't want to give their young guys too much responsibility and have them drain their confidence if they don't do well with that responsibility.
But I think you can go a little higher than that. Like you don't have to like play your young guys like on the first line or something like that. But
Yeah, like 10
you
minutes a night obviously is way
like
too
around
low. Like it could be
15,
like
14,
13,
15.
13, 14 minutes is probably what he
Because
should be
if
getting.
you have your first line guys playing like 18, 19 minutes, like you can have that guy playing more like 14, 15-ish. I don't
He
know.
should be a really solid, like at least a solid driver on that third line.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like coaches need to start doing that sometimes. Like especially New Jersey. They're having issues scoring goals. You have your answer right there. Use him.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
he's a top 5 pick for a reason.
One thing I did want to share, talking about standings and all that. I remember when we made that prediction, even when I talked about the Oilers, and them climbing the ladder
Your
up in the
buddy just brings it
Pacific.
up every episode, just like prove a point. Like, hey, I said, I told you so. I told
Well,
you
yeah,
so.
because
It's like, look, I was right one time.
I know I'm gonna be right. So I'm
No,
just
you're
like,
not. You said
No,
Seattle
you
would
were
be
right
in.
one
You said
time.
yeah,
Seattle would be in.
let it set in. It's happening.
Seattle's not going to be in.
They will be
Seattle
in.
is falling, bro. They're
I will come
falling.
back to you in a couple of weeks, right? Well, the team's already falling apart. Drew Doughty's out here losing his brain.
They're
So
still better than
The Kings
Seattle.
are okay. That's an L on my part. The Kings are falling apart. It's crazy. The
That
downfall is insane. It
they
needs to be
they could have
studied.
been if they didn't do that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. They could have been the best team in the
they
Pacific.
would have been
They
dangerous.
would have been. Now could have been. They would have been.
Because you
Like,
take out all the main pieces from Winnipeg, right?
yeah,
Or not the main pieces, but like a
like
bunch of the
a couple of
driving
good
pieces.
pieces. Gabe
Yeah.
Velarde, Alex
Yeah.
Iafallo.
Mm-hmm.
And you also put that cancer back on the team, right? That's in way like
The
sorry,
me
like
guy.
yeah,
Like
sorry,
he's all
Pierre-Luc
about
Dubois,
himself, and he
but
sucks.
yeah, and honestly, maybe that's why Winnipeg's succeeding too. Not just because they
Yeah.
got Iafallo and all those guys, but they also got rid of him. But what I wanted to mention was, Canucks are currently tied for points, point percentage. Okay, we also lead the NHL in goal differential. Okay, and regulation wins. So we have the eighth hardest schedule left after the All-Star break. Where do you see them finishing now? I know we talked about this in the first week, right? So it's been 4 weeks now. A month later, we've got a little bit better idea of what we're headed towards. What do you guys think? I know Gerbod said something around 108 to 112 points. Gerst
I
said
have
somewhere
no
around there as
clue.
well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember this
I
because,
don't even remember what I
you
said. I
know,
don't even think I
I'm
gave an
like dead
opinion.
set on. Remember that? Don't forget about that $50 better, right?
Yeah,
Canucks
that
are,
they're
Canucks
gonna.
are finishing first in the NHL this year.
I'd rather they win the cup than the President's Trophy.
We're winning both.
The curse
The
doesn't say so,
curse, the
man. The
curse,
curse,
yeah,
the
the
Hey
curse is
man,
curse.
real.
we went to Toronto this year and we touched the cup, and look at our team now, right?
Yeah,
So let's see.
but I'd getting to that, like the Canucks do have a harder schedule, but
Mhm.
they have a lot of like time in between games. They don't have games crammed up. They had a lot of their back to backs already, and
Mhm.
they're
Like
playing
Edmonton does, though.
most their games are happening at home too now. So I feel like that kind of makes it a little easier. And at the same time, I'd rather be playing that tougher competition going into the playoffs
Yeah,
rather than having super easy competition. And then you're kind of like, okay, you think it's a walk in the park, and then all of a sudden you have, a really good
Yeah,
team
it's
up
like
against
you,
you.
okay, you're winning going into the playoffs, but look at your competition. Then the playoffs come and you're like, oh my God, we were playing bombs. This is way harder than we've
My
like
my ideal
played
situation
against.
though, because 7 of the 8 teams in the uh what's it called Western Conference, I think are legit Stanley Cup contenders that you never know what could happen. Any one of them could, make a run for it. I would want to win the conference, but not the league. I don't want to win the league. Anybody else can take Boston, take it again. You're gonna choke anyways. Give us the number one seed in
I'm a
the
firm
conference.
believer in curses. I am a Cowboys fan. So
Maybe you should stop being a Canucks fan. That could maybe help us. But anyways,
the
yeah,
Jimmy Johnson curse, we thought we
having
lifted it, but we didn't, and we still suck. Anyways, back to Canucks hockey.
go Green Bay. Yeah, and
They lost too. What the hell are you
I
talking
don't care.
about?
They beat the
Niners,
Cowboys. They beat the
Niners,
Cowboys.
Niners, Niners got it. But
They
yeah,
beat the
Hey
hockey,
man,
Cowboys. Yeah, but
hockey.
I'd play a team like playing a team against like Nashville, like who we're sort of projected to play right now if the playoffs were to start. That's a team I think the Canucks can kind of take on easier compared to any other team.
and we match up well against them. We
Yeah.
have this year, so yeah. I mean, the Oilers, they have 4 games in hand on us, man. You know, if they win all 4 of those, they're like only 4 points behind us.
I'm
But
glad you brought that up now,
but
because yeah, go for it.
But
but
they also have 8 back-to-backs after the All-Star
I
break.
was
Well,
gonna say
anyways, go ahead.
everybody's sort of talking about the Oilers this, Oilers that, which is just so annoying. Like we get it, just stop. I don't care if they're blowing out Chicago or Columbus or whatever. I don't really care about that. Just the team that's really surprising me, and I think nobody's really talking about much, is Vegas. They're
Yeah.
7-1 in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
They don't have Shea Theodore, Jack Eichel, William Carrier, Canucks legend Ben Hutton,
Mm.
William Karlsson, Michael Amadio. Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of key pieces there that they're playing without, and they're keeping up. 7-1 in their last 10 games. They beat the Rangers the other day too. And I mean, hey, it's a team you got to watch out for. And I still think from a playoff perspective, I think the best team in the conference, the Western Conference, is Vegas.
It's Vegas.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Well, come playoff time, they're 100% the best team in the West.
yeah,
I think in the
Vegas is the
West.
best in the West, and then
Then it's Colorado.
Florida would be my pick in the East for like
Yeah,
playoff hockey.
playoff hockey, 100%.
Hey man, that's your last year's finalist, so it checks out.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Oilers, one thing I wanted to talk about, I think Gers kind of mentioned it. So they've had a bit of an easier schedule. Like, sure, like I'll give them their credit in the fact that like you do have to maintain a certain level of consistency game in, game out to win 15 in a row.
Yeah.
And I think they are only a few games short. I think it's 17 is the largest streak in the
Yeah.
NHL ever. So hey man, they have a chance to make history, whether it's against below 500 teams mostly or not, right? Streak's a streak, but after the All-Star break, they're going to play 37 games in 73 days. Okay.
Yeah.
They got two Eastern road trips with 8 sets of back-to-backs, right? Including 3 in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you guys think? To be honest, like I remember I kind of had like a counter argument. I kind of spoke in favor of Edmonton, and I still do think they will finish second, right? But what I think is going to happen is they're going to be hot for a bit, but that latter end of the season, like that month and a half, so we're really going to see that drop off.
You can't expect Stuart Skinner to keep playing this way. I just don't see it. I don't trust that guy as much. And
I
I
don't know,
do
man.
I do think this team sort of will take a step back, like not a step back, but they'll come down to reality. The
Hmm.
average standing position of their opponents in these 15 games has been 22 out of 32 teams. That's the bottom third of the league. It's a good streak. Like winning the games you're supposed to, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't really see it correlate. Like it doesn't matter if you have a super long winning streak. If you go up against a team in the playoffs that matches up well with you, what's that streak gonna do for you? It
Yeah,
does
but
nothing.
that's like
If
any
you
streak for
but
any
let's
team.
but here's the thing. People are putting way too much into this streak. Everybody's like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
they're gonna win the cup. They're gonna win the cup.
yeah.
They're the cup favorites."
But
Like
it's
they were
more
the
like
cup
the
favorites
way
at
they're
that point.
playing,
Like,
like they just have
are
a
you
different feel about them, is
but
all I'm saying.
are you gonna sit here and say, like, hypothetically, if Edmonton finishes second, Vegas is finishing third? Are you telling me that against a healthy Vegas, which is supposed to be healthy
No,
by
Vegas
playoff
still
time,
wins.
No way.
Vegas
what are you gonna
still
do with that
wins.
15 game win streak? Go take it and I don't know, do
Honestly, that
whatever.
15-game win streak at the end of the day would have screwed them over because it made them finish and play Vegas. Which, so I get your argument. I'd rather them finish in a wild card spot if you're talking them winning a round. But like
I
if they
mean,
finish 2 or 3 and you play Vegas, either way, like whether you're 2 or 3, you're still gonna play Vegas
Yeah.
and
But even
they're
if they
gonna
fell
lose.
to a wild card position, they'd probably only fall to wild card one rather than two. With
mm,
wild card one, you'd be going up against Colorado,
yeah,
which
I feel
isn't
like they
much
have a
better
better
either.
chance against them though.
I
They
don't know, man.
not much better.
like
Landeskog's coming
obviously
back too.
Colorado's still like way better than
Nate
them.
Dogg
Yeah,
is
Nate
going
Dogg's been
off.
on a tear, right? You don't want that guy
He's
on
winning
the
the heart. He
you
definitely
Oh,
you don't
is
want
easy.
winning
him
the
on the
heart.
road. That man now on home ice has been insane. It's like
Yeah.
what, 26 straight games? Like he has a
25,
point,
I think now, right?
something like that. Like
Hmm.
you do not want him against
Then
you on the road.
especially
One thing for
that team's
okay, go.
winning the Central right now without Landeskog. And Landeskog is starting to
Yeah.
skate now, and he's going to be back too.
Which is
There's
crazy
no
because nobody thought he would be back this year,
there's not a
including
chance.
him.
There's not a chance in my eyes where I see Edmonton beating Colorado this year. I
I
just
don't
don't.
see it either. I would take Edmonton, like if like that's what it came down to, like over all the other teams. Like if our first round matchup has to be Edmonton, Vegas, LA, or anyone like that, like I would take Edmonton. I'm confident the
I'd probably
Vancouver
take
Canucks
LA
can beat
first at
them.
this point,
I
unless
take
they
LA.
make a big like trade and somehow turn it around, which they could. They have Arvidsson out right now. They
Hmm.
could turn it around, but for the time being, I take LA. But if you're looking at Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado, Winnipeg, I go Edmonton.
Mm. Yeah.
Dallas is an underrated team too. Nobody's really talking about Dallas that much.
Nobody ever
Yeah.
talks about Dallas,
Nobody
and they're
they
always
got
consistently
they got an
very
amazing
good.
goalie. They've got an amazing top nine. They got good
Defense is good too.
defense.
Their top four is
Yeah.
very good too.
It kind of remind me of us before this year. Like you
Nah.
got
Miro
you
Heiskanen gets no um credit, and he's
Yeah.
like one of the
that
best
that
Even
defenders in
Jason
the league.
Robertson.
that's the sense what I'm kind of trying to talk it in, right? Like not in terms of like team style, but in terms of
Yeah.
credit. Like you got Ottinger, you got Robertson, you got Heiskanen, and like before this season, like guys like Demko Hughes and like Pettersson. Like Pettersson was always on the radar a bit because like he'd be making those crazy plays, and like I guess Demko had that bubble run, but like Hughes especially. But it's like more so like giving their full credit was never there, and like we finally get it now. I feel like it's a similar situation in Dallas, right? Like they got that skill and talent, but it's not always given the recognition it deserves.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, the playoffs are going to be insane because, like I said, I think 7 of the 8 teams have a legit chance
It's wide open this year.
to like win the
Dogfight.
cup. Like if Nashville makes it, I'm sorry, you're not winning a cup. There's no chance. Like there just isn't. Seattle's not winning a cup. Arizona's not
Clip
winning
it.
it.
Watch Nashville win now.
No, there's not a chance. I wouldn't even be surprised if they sell at the deadline.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they should.
I think
They're
they should
kind of
too.
stuck in the same spot every year. You know
They
what I
they
mean?
don't really
Like they were
have.
in that spot
Yeah,
last year too, where you're kind of just good enough, but you're not gonna do anything when you get there.
it's like that typical Minnesota team.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That
Literally.
Minnesota team for all like the 2010s, everything like you're good enough to make the playoffs, you're not good enough to make some noise, and you're
Yeah.
not bad enough to add a really good piece to your team. Like,
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's a few teams in that situation, I guess. And like I guess another one we could talk about. It's like and like Canucks are kind of
Like
linked to them.
in that situation, just 1 second, I just want to say something. In that situation, if your team is on the like aging side, you always should sell. Like I don't
Yeah.
think I think it's a
I
no-brainer
mean, they should
as
sell, but then they
management.
sign a guy like Ryan O'Reilly to a deal.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like you should,
Yeah.
but like the NHL owners and GMs, they all just I don't know. Their ways of thinking sometimes are
There
very,
is an
very
element of
questionable.
once you make it, you never know. But I feel
I
like
hate that.
your team needs to be at a certain standard to do that. Like
Hmm.
Florida last year, nobody really expected them to make that run. Everybody thought, okay, they're going up against Boston, they're done. There's no chance they make it out
Weren't
alive.
they a wild? Were a wild
They
card
were the eighth seed.
They were
eight seed. Yeah,
down 3-0.
Yeah.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Insane.
I do think there's an element of that where, if you make it, you could have a chance, but I think you need that top end talent to do that. Both
Yeah.
Forsberg has been a really good piece, but he's not
He's
that top end talent where he'll push that needle.
He's been a little cold this
he
year.
Yeah.
well, he started the year really well. I
Yeah.
haven't really paid attention to how he's been doing recently, but he started the year on a tear.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
like
he's
I don't
at
know, somebody's gonna have to fact check that because we don't really
he's
pay
at 50
attention.
he's at 50 points in 48 games, which is pretty good.
I
Not
take
That's
bad.
that back
that's
then.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
good
it's that's
for
solid.
a winger.
Ryan O'Reilly's turning back the clock, 42 points in 48 games.
Wow.
But I mean, yeah, but they don't have a chance. They
They
don't.
don't
I'm
even
sorry, they
even
don't.
with like you can have two guys that are like they just I don't know. Roman Yossi hasn't been very. He has is he even playing right now?
Yeah, he is, but he's
He
yeah,
is.
There's too many holes in the team. Simply
yeah,
put. Like,
But I mean,
yeah.
they do have an elite goalie, so you really
yeah.
don't ever know what's gonna happen.
You would need him to get red hot to have a chance.
Bubble
Mm.
Demko mode.
Bubble, yeah, Bubble Demko, but plus, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, what the thing I was trying to talk about was, we're talking about how teams that are aging should be selling, and you guys wouldn't be surprised if Nashville becomes a seller at the deadline. Team I'm looking at, and the Canucks are linked to them, right? And I'll talk about a little bit of things that came up over this week. It's the Calgary Flames. So right now they sit 6 points out of the second wild card spot behind Nashville. Um, both have a 48 games played, and LA's actually at the same point total as Nashville at 53 as well, but they have 2 games in hand on Calgary. Um, when is it too early, too late to, determine whether you're still going to keep making a push or, maybe it's time to kind of, pull out and sell? Like, I feel like Calgary has been a little bit more on like the sell side this year, right? That's why you're hearing a bunch of those names come out and the teams being linked to them, including us. But yeah, the cool thing that I saw over this weekend, and I'm sure you guys saw it too, was that the people that the Canucks are still in on. So I heard Monahan is a no-go. Canucks aren't looking to pursue him. But Lindholm from Calgary is one name that is coming up. Henrique is another one from Anaheim, I believe. And Gensel, it's like it's died down, but it's still possible. And I'm not too sure about what's going to happen with that. But the other Flames guy, right? We all know him and love him, Christopher Tanev, right? Quinn went and talked to management, and basically, I don't know if it was a direct conversation, indirect type thing, right? But basically, in a way, hinted that it'd be nice to have him back. Um, so yeah, there's some new names that are being thrown out, some old names that have kind of been, pushed out. And another one was the guy from Montreal. I'm gonna butcher his name so bad.
I think it's like Jack Eye or something. There's
Jack
Zach
Wi-Fi,
Eye.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. There you
Yeah,
go.
but Wi-Fi. But
Wi-Fi.
hey, yeah, Jack-Eye, something like yeah.
But yeah, what?
The funniest thing was Rick
Jay
Dollywall trying to say his name. He's like, he's like Jack Eye.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was
Jacksepticeye.
funny.
But
But yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I'm really intrigued by this because it's gonna cost a decent amount. But personally, like my own personal standpoint, I would love this team with Lindholm and Tanev. I think we become so much better, right? And I know Bodge had a little bit of a different opinion on the whole Tanev situation, but yeah, Lindholm, like I think he'd be a perfect piece, but he's gonna come at a high price. So, what do you guys think? Do you think a package is possible with both Lindholm and Tanev, or do you think they go after just one or the other?
I'm strictly on the there's no point in adding a defenseman to this team
Mhm.
when we're already up against the cap, and then if you have a package of Lindholm and Tanev, 4 million from Tanev, 4 million from Lindholm, there's no way you're fitting in 8 million to this lineup. Even at the very least, if you were to somehow get them to be 50% retained, both of them, you're going to be looking at paying a lot. Then at that point, you're giving up a Leckermack or a Wielander because no team is retaining that much when a team like Calgary can easily trade Tanev at full cost for at least a first round pick at this point. A team
that's
like
what they're looking for
yeah,
right now.
and they're going to be able to do that. And I don't see it making sense for the Canucks to have so much dead cap space sitting out every game. Because if they have 7 like legit defensemen all making above like 3-4 million, that's a lot of valuable cap space that's just sitting out every game. And
Hmm.
come playoff time, don't I understand the emotional aspect of it. Like I do believe we should have kept Tanev at that point, but you know, it doesn't make sense right now. Maybe if we didn't have Zadorov, then sure, go for it. But at this point, I don't see it making sense. I think a top 6 winger or center is more of our need. Whether it's a guy like Henrique, maybe he comes a little cheaper. Lindholm, he has kind of cooled off a little bit recently. I think he only has one goal in like 20 games or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Last 20, something like that. He has cooled down a bit, but hey, you never know. Like he can step in and just go at it.
He would benefit from a change of scenery right
But
now.
for some reason, I genuinely believe I don't think the Canucks are going to go after any of these guys. This is my bold prediction.
Mhm.
I think a guy like whether it's Casey Middlestat or a younger guy around the league,
I've heard Dylan Cousins
Dylan
too.
Cousins. I heard that. I was seeing that today. But I feel like one of those guys, those younger centers that are locked up, like or they can lock up long term. I think that's going to be more of their
At a
approach.
discount
Yeah.
too, because yeah.
Like Joel Eriksson Ek, as much as that'd be the perfect fit, it's not happening.
Mhm.
But I feel like I don't know. I just can't believe that. I don't believe these names. I think there's gonna be something else. That's just like the Hronek trade. It's gonna come out of nowhere.
Definitely. You're not gonna see it coming. That's the beauty of the Rutherford deal, man.
Like
It
they were
just
talking about the Hronek
comes
trade.
out of nowhere.
They said their analytical department is the team that identified Hronek and said, "Hey, he could come into our system and play really well, and it's worked out perfectly. So I don't think they're going to be trying to leak that sort of information.
Mm-hmm.
Would Dylan Cousins though? Like I know the name got thrown out recently, but he has 26 points in 45 games,
Yeah.
and he comes at a cap hit of 7.1.
Yeah. But he's a young guy. He's
Yeah,
a
he's a young
really
guy.
young guy.
And he
Like
can play on the wing or center. He can play both. And
if
that's a valuable thing on our team
Yeah,
right
he's
now.
22. He is really, really young.
like
But
yeah. And hey, last year he had 68 points. Like Buffalo's not having the best season this year. So you can always expect him, playing with a few better players. Like he turns it around. Like
it's
imagine a duo of Pettersson and Cousins. Pettersson
mhm,
Cousins as your first duo, and then second duo is Miller Besser.
yeah.
That makes you way more legit. Obviously, I don't know, the trade would be quite interesting to see how it ends up. Maybe at that point, a guy like Lekkerimäki gets involved.
Another
So,
thing I want to say, right? I'm assuming this would be a consideration from management. Like one thing I noticed is like Cousins is like a bigger guy. I mean, 6'3", 195. So for
Mm-hmm.
playoff hockey, you do want bigger guys that play that, more like aggressive type game. But the experience, right? Being a younger guy, being on Buffalo, right? You don't see the playoffs often, and he's only been in the league for like so long, right? It's that he doesn't really have that playoff experience. So as a team that's going to be making that trade, and the goal is to obviously make a push in some way. Do you think they still do that?
I can see that because I don't think this management group is like looking short term. They're
Hmm.
looking a bit longer as well.
Yeah,
Where, okay, you get a guy like Dylan Cousins. He's not just helping you this year, he's helping you for the next like 6, 7, 8
yeah,
years. You have him for his whole prime.
yeah,
He hasn't
Mm-hmm.
even hit his prime yet, and he already
yeah,
got
Mm-hmm.
68 points.
yeah.
That's a smarter move than, say, going for a guy like Lindholm, which you're not going to re-sign. Lindholm, Gensel, it's going to be very difficult to re-sign those guys.
Hmm.
And even like a guy like Casey Middlestat, he's having a really good season this year too. He could be
Yeah.
a guy. Or Frank Vetrano, like he's a little older, but they had interest in him. I think one of those guys, or just some random guy that they're going to find out of nowhere.
I
That's
think
my bet.
I think I heard I heard this on the radio the other day, I think, or I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it. It's just that they're more interested in finding a guy who can play both winger and center. Like
Hmm.
that's just because it just fits more with this
It's nice
top
to have the
It's
six.
it's it's
versatility.
it's
The
having that
versatility
option
helps
to
the
make
top
the
six.
lotto line. You
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you can
yeah,
go to the
that's
lotto
exactly
line
it.
or split them up, and then
And
that's a good
that's
point.
where a
Yeah.
guy like Vetrano and a guy like Cousins, they would be perfect because they can both do that.
hey, Middlestat you could have them play
I
wing
guess you could have Middlestat there too, but I feel like
or
he'd just be a little more pricey than the other two.
yeah, that
Yeah.
depends. But even just thinking now, like a guy like Lawson Krause, like obviously he's a winger, he's not a center, but hey, that's a big body coming into the team, good for playoff hockey. Signed
Hmm.
quite cheap, like 4.4 million or so for the
Hmm.
Hmm.
next like 3 years or something like that. So
Yeah.
that could be I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be any of these like Lindholm or Gensel or you know those Henrique, those
Yeah,
type of
I
guys.
don't think they're willing to give up like that much for a guy that they might
Yeah,
not even have next year.
yeah,
So
I think yeah,
I can see that.
I think that's a fair point. I do agree with the fact that I don't think management is short-sighted. So, yeah, no, that's fair.
but even like
Um,
looking around the league, like there's obviously like I guess the advantage comes from teams signing these younger guys to longer deals earlier, and like we just saw, Owen Tippett
mhm.
signs that deal. What was it? I think he's 6 point something million.
6.5 for 8 years.
Yeah, I think that's a steal. That's an
Mhm.
absolute steal of a
Absolute steal.
I what's his called Danny Briere is doing an amazing job there. I
Yeah.
think he's really helping turn around Philadelphia, and hey, got the Drysdale trade. I'm a fan of that. I'm a
I
fan
am
of this
too. For
signing
them,
too.
that was good. That was really good.
I'm a fan of this signing too, which you get ahead of that, which is something we should have done with Pettersson, but
And
we've talked
he
a lot about
wanted
his
to do
contract.
it,
Yeah.
but somebody wanted a bridge deal. So
It's kind of crazy though, right? Just watching Danny Briere playing like the playoffs and stuff, and
Yeah.
now he's a GM. It's kind of crazy, but
I'd say like I think bridge deals are more for players like the Hoglanders, Podkolzins, those type of players.
the guys that got to
The
prove
other guys,
themselves.
you have to sign long term right away. You just
Yeah,
have to bet on the fact.
Yeah, but yeah, he wasn't sold on him. That's the thing. Benning wasn't sold.
It wasn't he wasn't sold. He just didn't have money.
yeah.
Well, that too,
We
yeah.
didn't have the
Like
money for it.
look at like Quinn and even Demko. Like I guess you could say like midterm in a way. Like especially with Demko, like 5 years, like perfect midterm
I
contract.
think Demko's contract was fair.
Yeah,
Like it
At the
was.
time, it was perfect. It was a great deal
Yeah.
for them.
like,
And
Quinn's
now
a
it's even
steal
better.
at his money.
It's
Yeah.
even better now.
Quinn's a steal definitely too. But now, hey, with that too, and now we got Hronek coming up. I think that's a contract people sort of forget about that. Hey, if he's gonna demand a lot of money,
Hmm.
I
And there's no guarantee that he'll stay here either.
but he's an RFA, so either way, we're not losing him for free.
Okay.
So that's the thing.
That's on me. I didn't know he was an RFA.
And trust the management, right? Like we
Yeah.
said, same thing with Pettersson. At least assets are coming back, and I trust this management with those assets.
But I think I hope they get something done there because I really like the structure of our defense where it's like you have those two guys, Hughes or Ronick. They go out, they're dominating the puck, so they don't really have to defend that much. And then you have the other four guys, sort of bigger, taller defensemen, which
Hmm.
just play that whole
And
shutdown.
even when you split them up, it works good too.
Yeah.
And then when you need to, you can put them back together. It just doesn't really impact you that much. It's a good
Yeah.
system they have going on at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Couple
Sergei
other things.
Gonchar
Um,
doing it.
noticing that we're kind of going over time here, but couple things going on around the league, hockey world. So why don't we just stick to the NHL first, and then we'll kind of step outside the league after. Um, very recent, the Gallagher suspension.
Yeah.
Um, just quickly, let's see what your guys' thoughts are. Don't want to get into too much. Uh,
I
what are
think
your
it's way
thoughts on
too
the hit?
short.
What are your thoughts on the term?
I think it's dirty. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's way too short. I don't really believe that whole, first time offender stuff. I think that's just
Mm-hmm.
BS.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dirty play, 6, 7 games at least, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's super dirty. Yeah. I
Yep.
think the Department of Player Safety is a joke.
Agreed.
George
Mm-hmm.
Carroll says
He's a
he's
goof.
not well for the job.
I mean, hey,
I don't
Gallagher
even
played
know
with him.
who gave him the
Yeah.
job. Like, why would you give a guy with that history that important of a
Yeah.
job? It was really stupid. But yeah, I was
There's
surprised.
fans making that stuff up where it's like the teams that have been most suspended are Boston and Toronto ever since he took over, and those are
Oh,
the teams that
wow.
he's sort of playing like against a lot,
Yeah, he had the
especially with
rivalry
Montreal.
with those
Yeah,
two teams.
Did not know that, but
yeah.
I mean, hey, the NHL has a lot of controversy with it all the time,
I
and
mean,
this
I
let's
stuff
was
not
does.
forget.
surprised to, I was surprised to hear it was the phone interview, and apparently a
Yeah,
phone interview can
Yeah,
only be a max of 5 games.
yeah.
yeah,
So I don't know, man.
I talking about
There's
that stuff.
something going on over there.
Colin Campbell, let's not forget that in 2011, his son's playing the Stanley Cup Finals, and somehow that's not a conflict of interest.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know how that happens, but hey, when Gary Bettman's the commissioner of the league, anything can happen, right? Especially when a Canadian team's in the finals. But yeah, my quick little thought: dirty hit, intent to injure, right? No need for that elbow to come up. Same thing should have been 6 to 7 games. Um, yeah, outside of that, there's definitely been more controversy surrounding the hockey world, bigger than the suspension. A lot more of a sensitive topic, right? So we'll try to get in and out of the topic as quick as we can. But obviously, the whole thing with Hockey Canada and the sexual assault charges. A lot of NHLers, some ex-NHLers, taking notice of leave from their teams, and potentially fitting into that situation and being a part of it. Um, yeah, I think we're all gonna have a very similar thing to say, but I'll let you guys kind of take your piece. So, yeah, what do you guys think, man?
I
You want
mean,
to go first?
sure. I mean,
All right.
hey, it's just the thing that, it was wrong.
Yeah.
I think everybody can agree on it. It was wrong. And even on Hockey Canada, you lose a lot of trust in an institution like that where, there's reports coming out that they paid the person off before even knowing what players did it. And it's
Hmm.
like there's so much hush hush around it where it's like
Yeah.
there needs to be some sort of accountability where Hockey Canada needs to, be a bit more accountable. And I mean, other sponsors are taking notice of that stuff too, where they're pulling their money out, and I think that's valid. You
Hmm.
know, people don't want to be associated with an organization like that. And now we all speculate, we don't know for sure, but even that whole Salt Lake City expansion thing, it sort of seemed like,
Cover up.
you know, a cover up sort of thing, like, hey,
The
when
timing was very sus.
yeah, where it's
Very.
like they're just trying to push that news out and be like, yeah, look at this shiny new toy
Hmm.
and forget
Mm-hmm.
about what's just happening. And I mean, the NHL needs to do better and stuff like this. I think everybody can agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get too much into like the guys. We all know who they are, right, and who they played for. Um, but yeah, Hockey Canada definitely needs to be more accountability. It's a very serious situation, right? Someone is affected in both the physical, psychological, and emotional way, right? We don't know what they're going through, so serious matters need to be taken seriously, right? And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a current NHLer, ex-NHLer, you should face the consequences for your actions. And I hate the whole thing with the Salt Lake City thing. Like, yes, I'm not doubting the fact that it's real, right? 100%, it can be a legitimate document, but the timing, right, putting it out could have been
Like,
timed better.
yeah, like read the room.
Yeah, read the
Mm-hmm.
room, all right? And especially considering the stuff that happened last year with the whole Chicago Blackhawks organization, right? And then how that was dealt, all the information that came out, and then, how the NHL dealt with that. Like, talking about Hockey Canada, I think the NHL also has a certain level of accountability that they need to take, right? Like with the Chicago Blackhawks, right? And say what you want. Like, I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan. Bedard's a Vancouver boy. All Canucks fans had a dream of this guy, being drafted to the Canucks. Whatever, that's its own separate thing, right? But when you're a league that goes and punishes a team for, breaking a draft like recruitment rule, something
Yeah.
I don't
It
remember
is
exactly what it was.
Arizona was testing players outside of the combine
Exactly. So they lose a first round pick for something like that,
and
right?
second round pick two and stuff like that. Just a lot of stuff.
Exactly. And like, yes, I understand there's legal consequences and money involved already, but as a league, there should be further consequences for that organization for what they did, right? You got to understand it was a decade-long thing, right? And once again, somebody was hurt physically, emotionally, and psychologically, and we're just sweeping it under the rug. And like you said, like shiny new toy, instead of punishing that organization for what they did, you go and hand them a generational player, right? And like similar context here, it's like you got four current NHLers, right? You got one ex-NHLer that is involved. And what do? You start talking about how this new expansion team might come up, blah, blah. There's no sort of, you know, statement from the league. And I don't know. I think that says a lot about where the league is, who it's run by, the mindset, right? I don't want to get too much into it because then it gets into a sticky situation and then I'm putting myself in an area that I might not want to be in. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And yeah, I think
And
Gerst
I mean,
mentioned it before. Be better.
and I
Yep.
mean, like we talk about this, but at the same times, I guess you can give props to a team like Ottawa, where
Yeah.
one of their players was like rumored to be in that, and I guess those teams had more knowledge about it, and the player wasn't a bad player. Like they had every right to re-sign the player. They could have gone ahead and been like, we'll wait until the investigation and then we'll see what happens. But they recognized that and they didn't sign the player. He was a RFA and he went overseas and technically he is an NHL talent, but they didn't sign him. And I guess props to them were for being like, hey, we're gonna take this seriously and not sign you right now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. It'd just be nice to see that around the whole league, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like the commissioners and the organizers and everything. But
I do think just in general with the NHL, I guess this becomes more broad. I think Gary does need to go soon.
I
There's
agree.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that he's not able to keep up with, whether that's the social aspect of just the world or hockey, or even just growing the game, the marketing of the game.
Yeah, the
Like,
modernization of the
yeah,
game is
I,
falling behind
I
other leagues because this guy
it's
refuses to listen to new ideas.
yeah, and I mean, there's some things that they're doing a little better. Like we talked about the All-Star game with Bieber's a co-captain, Michael Bublé's a co-captain. Some like they got people like that. They just had their OVO collab for the
Mhm.
All-Star game. Like
Hmm.
those are good things, but they're still way far behind in just being a sort of good league. Like I don't know. I
Did you
feel like he needs
guys
to go.
did you guys see what Dana White had to say about the NHL? I
What
don't
do
know
you
if any
say?
of you guys came
Wasn't that a
across that.
long? He said that a while ago, though. No,
It was pretty old, but I feel like it's relevant to what's going on right now. And like,
you
it had
want
to
to
do,
explain what he said first, but like
yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, like it had to do like the Nelk boys. So
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna get into who the Nelk boys are and what they do and where we stand in terms of what they promote and all that. But obviously we know like with Dana, right? Like he collabs with the Nelk boys and like a bunch of other influencers and stuff like that. And um the Nelk boys had reached out to the NHL and basically the response they got back was like we don't want anything to do that involves them, right? And whatever, like I said, not going to get into too much on what who the Nelk boys are, what they promote and all that, but one thing Dana said was that this league, like especially the people that are kind of like in the back, like pulling the strings and stuff, like they don't understand how to reach out to people
Yeah.
nowadays, right? Especially like the youth and like the social media era, right? The people that grew up in that social media era, there's certain ways to connect with them. And like you said, like yeah, the Bieber and the Buble stuff, like that's cool, but like, there's so many other ways you can do it, right? And like one thing I kind of saw that was cool was that like that whole like I said, I don't like the guy, right? But the whole collaboration of Matthews with like Prime and stuff, right? Like Logan's like Logan Paul, whatever his name is, like pretty big influencer in the States, right? And then you got the KSI guy, pretty big influencer in the UK. Like yeah, it doesn't really make sense, I guess. Like you just take this
Yeah.
random influencer from, well, not random, but like you take this influencer from the UK, take this guy from the States, and then all of a sudden now they're collabing with an NHL. But it's like that's how you grow the game, right? Like how many?
And I mean,
Yeah,
even like I guess more people that are like celebrities around the world. You add in the Kelsey brothers. They've on their podcast, they've been
yeah,
talking about the NHL. They talk
yeah,
about Bedard, how they feel because they played
They
hockey
love
too.
hockey. They
They
love
played
hockey.
hockey.
Yeah.
yeah,
They actually played hockey, so they know the sport, and they're talking about Bedard and stuff like that. And it's like, you have those people. Why not invite them out, show them a good time, and then, it helps your game grow too. Because we all saw what Jason Kelsey at the Chiefs game that
yeah.
went viral everywhere. Imagine him doing that at a like Stanley Cup Finals game.
Be insane. Yeah,
It'd be
and like
huge for the game.
another thing that I think we talked about, this is like off podcast and stuff, right? It's that like even with like guys like the Spin Chiclet guys, right? Like with Biz and everything, like these guys are amazing for the game because they understand the social media era, right? They know how to get the game out there, what to say, when to do it, all that stuff, right? So yeah, I think with the NHL where it gets annoying is it's like you're sticking to those old ideas, those old practices. It's like, yes, for the longest time, Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night with Coach's Corner worked, right?
Yeah,
But eventually you have to grow outside of that.
yeah,
And yeah, man, it'd be nice for more people to watch hockey, right? Because I feel like it's like I've played multiple sports in my life, right? Like I've never played hockey, right? I've played multiple sports and I've dedicated countless hours to them. There is no sport in the world better than hockey,
yeah.
right? And I know the basketball guys are watching this, right? But there's no sport better than hockey to watch or play, right? And I wish more people knew about it. And it's like the NHL just
That's
sucks at
true, man.
marketing.
I mean,
Any
I played hockey, so I absolutely love it. Like, it's an amazing sport that should be out there way more, and it's such an entertaining sport where it's that whole combination of speed and skill is very rare to
Mhm.
see.
Yeah,
Other sports, they're maybe slow but more skill, or fast but not as skillful.
yeah,
This has
you
the
exactly.
go
perfect
on.
combination of speed and skill. And like you were talking about Hockey Night in Canada, like I kind of like how they have like guys like BX and even Biz. Like
Yeah,
I think Biz in general, he's done an amazing job. With Spin Chicklets, like as you said, the whole brand, they've done an amazing job sort of pushing that hockey thing forward. Like
yeah,
you're talking about like Marshawn Lynch and people like that. Like they've done really well for the game. People, have their opinions on them, but at the end of the day, they're making hockey more fun to
yeah,
cover, to watch. Not everybody wants to wake up every day and watch Sportsnet or SportsCenter where you're just having the Maple Leaf shoved down your throat. Some people like it's fun to just see in a more casual setting. And I guess coming back to us, that's sort of where we get our inspiration from too, where it's
yeah,
want to have that more casual setting where, it's not like, yeah, this, that, like you go more deeper into the team and just, have a good time.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Like,
just wanted to touch on before. It's like you go on TikTok nowadays and you see all these influencers or whatever you want to call them, they are like, oh, I just went to my first hockey game and I just can't believe it took me this long to find out how like crazy the sport is, how fun and fast it is. And a lot of people, obviously, this isn't like the best part of the game, but like the fighting aspect,
Yeah.
like if you're like a fan of basketball, right? And you come and watch hockey and it's like, oh shoot, right? Like these guys actually, if they're barking at one another, they'll just drop the mitts and go. And in the NBA, they can't do that. And like a lot of fans, they like that aspect where
I,
it's just different.
I'd argue the fighting and the hitting is like one of the best parts.
No, it
Like
is, but like it's not like the only thing, but that's
Yeah.
like
it's
it's
not
a big thing in what gets new
People hooked to the
fans
game.
involved.
it sets us apart, right? Like I remember like we have this one group chat, right? And it's like I don't know who it was, but not a regular hockey goer, but sends it in. He's like, dude, the sport is rowdy. Like it's like that. There was that situation with the Arizona game. It's like the puck drops and there's literally
Oh,
like
Yeah,
two
Arizona,
fights in
yeah,
it.
that
Yeah,
Florida,
I
yeah.
saw a TikTok about that. This guy's like, oh my God, not even 1 second into the game, and these
yeah,
guys are fighting. And then right after that, 2 seconds later, there's
yeah.
another two guys fighting. He's like, this is awesome. How have I missed this my whole life?
I think
I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah, I guess.
the only people that hate hockey are the people that haven't watched hockey. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's way too
I
many of
could
those
not agree
people.
with that more. If you haven't watched hockey properly, then obviously you won't like it.
You
Like,
watch one playoff game and you're hooked for life.
yeah, I agree.
100%. That
You're
has you on the
hooked for
edge of your
life.
seat, man.
Yeah,
We have a term for it, but we can't share it
yeah,
here.
we have
But
that's like
yeah,
the bubble run.
yeah, fully. Just locked in on the edge of your seat, not talking to anybody, breath held. But yeah, no, I
I
think
just want one thing. I wanted to go back a little bit to the more sensitive subject because I didn't really get to say
Yeah,
anything when you guys were saying that.
yeah, go for it.
Um, it's just I just wanted to say Hockey Canada, if they can't figure out how to like moving forward, how to make sure this never happens again, like if you have to have somebody monitoring every player that goes out, then so be it. That's what you're gonna have to do. Because these guys, when they get selected to the World Juniors, they feel like they're on top of the world. Nobody can touch them. The rules don't apply to them, right? And
Hmm.
they just need to have that chaperone, whatever you want to call it, security around them to make sure that they don't do anything stupid, right? And they've never had that. And going forward, if they it doesn't have to be that, right? But I'm saying like going forward, Hockey Canada needs to find a way to show that they understand what happened and they're fixing it because
yeah,
they've never shown any sort of thing that's happened before involving Hockey Canada. They've never really shown that they understand the situation and that they're trying to fix it. And I feel like this one is the most important for them to show to everybody that they know and they're trying to fix it. You know what I mean?
and I mean, you remind me of a point I was gonna make earlier. Like, Hockey Canada looks over. I don't know, like, if you guys know, but Hockey Canada looks over every minor hockey association in Canada. So,
Hmm.
like, I played for North Delta. When I'm playing for North Delta, technically I'm playing under Hockey Canada. And that
Hmm.
Hmm.
goes all the way down from like a 4-year-old all the way till you're like an 18-year-old or whatever.
Yeah,
So when you have like younger, I guess, parents or kids coming into hockey and then they see this type of stuff, like the
yeah,
organization that's sort of responsible for our kids, this is what's happening. I think that pushes parents away from the sport of
Hmm.
hockey. And I
yeah,
think
100%.
just because of some people's like old
That's why,
opinions,
like in football,
yeah,
parents, less and less parents, the number goes down every year. Less and less people are putting their kids in football because of all the head injuries. It's the same
yeah,
thing for hockey.
yeah. And I
yeah.
mean, that's the thing, like hockey kind of needs to prove it to those people that, don't we messed up. I think that's the biggest thing. First, you just have to admit that, hey, we
Yeah, like
messed
they
up.
never publicly admit that they messed up. They never
It's
do it.
always some sort of cover up
Unless
or
unless
something.
I've missed it or they like I just have never seen them straight up say that they messed up. It's
Yeah,
always some backhanded way of saying
yeah,
it, you know what I mean?
yeah. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's all I wanted to say.
at the end, I think to conclude that, like it's a serious issue and it needs to be taken seriously. And hopefully justice is served. I think that's all we can hope for.
Hmm.
And if the allegations are true and they, get proven in court, then the punishment should be given out to the players no matter what. Like nobody should get special treatment. But just quickly wrapping up now, it's gonna be our longest episode, but
Yeah,
just
definitely.
quickly wrapping up, I guess we have Canucks last game tomorrow before the All-Star break against Columbus.
Yep.
Had a tough game last time against them. I guess there's a lot of travel issues, stuff like that, but hopefully they pick it up and turn it around this time around and, get into the break on a groove.
Score predictions. Let's hear them.
I think they come flying out 6-1.
I think so. I think they're
I'll-
gonna come flying out as well. Let's hear
Yeah,
yours
I'll
first.
I'll go 5-2.
Oh man, you stole mine. I gotta be. I'm gonna put it right in between your two. 5-1. Okay.
All right.
So
Sounds good.
I think they're gonna come flying out. Last game before the All-Star break. Last home game in a while, so they're gonna be like,
3
let's get it
weeks.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What are we gonna do without hockey for a week, man?
I know.
I don't want to have to think about it.
I mean,
Not
hey,
even more than a
I'm
week.
as much as I'm excited for the skills competition. I'm actually genuinely excited this year.
I'll see if I
Especially-
end up tuning in.
We have 3
Yeah, I'll
players.
see.
We have 3 players in it.
Yeah,
So
but nah,
and the players are going to be trying hard this year because the $1 million on the line.
true.
So I think it should be, especially it's the best on best. It's not like,
Shit,
Yeah.
I
random,
mean,
like,
even in the
random player coming
NBA, they
in.
got money on the line. They still don't try.
hockey
But
players are different.
NBA money is different money. So
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean,
Well,
the
$1
dunk
million
contest is still
pocket
fun
change for
there.
those guys.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think you mentioned it already. We've kind of gone over time
Yeah,
a little
this
too
is
long.
very long.
So
Yeah.
we'll call it at that. So thank you everybody for tuning in to our 4th episode of Nucks and Pucks. Make sure you go follow us on all of our social medias. It's Nucks and Pucks _ on Instagram and TikTok, and then just Nucks and Pucks for our Twitter. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and also streaming on YouTube at Nucks and Pucks. Please like,
Quick-
comment, and share.
Quickly before we go, I want to ask yours predictions for NFL tomorrow.
Oh yes,
Quickly.
Niners. Come on, quickly. Who you got?
Wait, yo,
Quick.
okay, hold up.
Quick. 5,
Okay,
4,
I
3,
got
2,
I
1.
got the Ravens.
And
And I got the oh my God, I don't know who's gonna win that other game. I'm sorry.
Oh, hurry up.
Niners and Ravens. That's mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Niners and Ravens. And then I got the Ravens winning the Super Bowl.
I'm just gonna
Actually,
say
no, sorry.
just 'cause-
Sorry, I'm gonna scratch that. I want the Lions to win the Super Bowl, so I'm gonna be biased. I'm gonna go Lions, Ravens, Super Bowl, Lions win it.
I'm just gonna say NFL's probably scripted at this point. They want to make money, so there's no way the Chiefs don't make it. They want that money. It's gonna be the
I feel like
Chiefs and
Lions would
Niners.
make more money. They've never won before.
Who cares? Chiefs
You
and
ju-
Niners. I think that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna get some random, like
Is that
they just
even
won't-
is
yeah.
that even possible
yeah, Niners and Chiefs.
in the final?
Yeah, that's possible. They're different conferences.
Oh well, there you go. There's your evidence that I don't watch the NFL. Okay.
Nice.
Anyways,
all right, that's
yeah.
that's a good
We'll see who's
spot to
correct.
end it.
That's it. Good
Yeah.
night.
All right, everyone. Yeah. Peace out.
Yeah,
Good
peace
night.
out.